Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the most popular and least listened to podcast in the world, the Sixth Sense Media Podcast, with your host, Mike Phelan.
So, James, let's go over your defense.
What defense?
Quite the model citizen. Armed robbery, grand theft, assault, battery.
Can someone tell me what the hell is going on?
You are dead.
So where am I now then?
Limbo. It's a neutral place between heaven and hell.
There is no way that this lowlife's getting into heaven whilst I'm stuck here.
When you die, you die. You're dead. End of story. That's it. Done.
I trust you about as far as I can spit.
You smell that? That's the smell of victory.
Limbo. What is that?
Closer to hell. It's more like Jersey.
Speaking of Limbo, going back to that, how did you get involved with that project?
It's a great relationship with the writer-director, Mark Young, who I have done 4 projects with. This will be my 4th film with him. He and I have a real simpatico sensibility with creative storytelling. Mm-hmm. I find his work to be somewhat outside of the box in intellect. He's always trying to couch something in a little bit of a smarter way, and we're always approaching things that way. So his sensibility and mine connect quite well, and so I'm always anxious to read whatever he has. He's a very prolific writer. He writes every day. He writes on a script every day that he's not on set working. So he's continually writing, sending me scripts and reading. So he sent me this one, and I was really tuned in to the idea because I felt like, oh, this is so perfect. It's 12 angry men of my soul, and we're going to have a judgment going north or south, and how's it going to go? And I've got the public defender from Satan and the prosecuting attorney and then or my public defender from heaven, and so we'll see how it goes. Maybe I got to choose. And so I really enjoyed the script, and I thought it was very unique and the ideas, and then more than that, as we get to the end, the twist, which I thought was great. And so I entirely wanted to do it. Originally, when I read it, my first run, he always just sends it to me. He doesn't editorialize it. He's always very enthusiastic, but he doesn't label it with anything. So I read it, and I'm like, oh, I think I'd really like to do Balthazar. And he's like, you could totally nail Balthazar. It's great, older, cynical, guy beat up by life. But I'm thinking I want to go a little bit younger there. I'm thinking I'm going to go against type and cast it young and look for a little teen angst, somebody that's got father issues, and land that. And I think that was a wise choice, really great. So he said, actually, I kind of wrote Jimmy Boyle for you. And I said, oh, of course. Yeah, I see that. And yeah, of course I'll do that. Because at some point we even kicked around Richard Riehle for Balthazar. The thing is, he's so charming, this guy, Richard. I don't know if you've been around him, but he's such a delight. You've seen him in everything. The gentleman that plays Phil. And he's so, he's so likable. So I'm really happy that Mark with Lucien, who we kind of discovered, and I just think it's a good fit in ill-fitting clothes, by the way. So yeah, that's how I got connected.
And James Purefoy was on there, which I was surprised. I'd talked to James a few years ago on the set of Altered Carbon. I was surprised to see his name in there because I was like, really? And then when he came on, and that accent and just how calmly he plays Lucifer, I was just like, Jesus.
I think it was a really smart choice. So not to segue at all, but one of the key things, because we didn't have a lot of rehearsal time, and that was a challenge, trying to build this, because we had two worlds to build. We had the nether world of Limbo, the other world, and then the reality world, to keep the project kind of buoyant. And so it required performances that were rather intact, as opposed to being just, built on in the moment. We didn't have in the moment. So Mark was really great at push play casting, and he and his casting director, Shannon McCanian. And so we have an association with James. James and I have a good friendship. Mark and James have a good friendship. And we just thought that would be great. And then James came in, and, he was going to do British, and he was like, gosh, I would really like to try something different. And Mark was like, let's, swing for the fences, dude. It's your game. And so he brought his George W. Bush to it. And, and with that swagger and dismissive, but then when he drops into it, really, you wouldn't want to disappoint me, which, just so dark, so that's the payoff, is to when he drops into it, that it's just delicious. I think it's so great. And okie dokie, okay, fine. It's just incredulous. So I loved his choices. He's so fun to work with, and clearly was, cool with the role. He wanted to do something like that, and I think it's something that he'll be, he's very proud of. So it's a huge payoff for the movie, and I think for James too. So it's great. It was also nice that he kind of takes that role as Lucifer and doesn't make it all about gnashing of the teeth and, rattling the saber. But his second in command, Peter Jacobson, does, right? He's so poignant. He's so terse, and he's just, he's particularly good, this actor, at spitting out dialogue. He's a real lesson on set to watch, and you totally get it. Like, oh, that's what I got to do to get back on TV. I got to really, I've got to really get my David Mamet on, machine gun that stuff out of there. And so he was delightful, wearing prosthetics no less, and everyone's performance was rather brilliant. It was built on the arcs of each of the characters. You get a sense of the life, and I think that's really important, because that helps engage the audience as well.
And the entire thing just really plays against your expectations, knowing what the subject matter is going to be. You really expect it to kind of hit these certain notes, but it doesn't. It completely goes against everything I thought it would be.
Yeah, and that was interesting, because my instincts on set were also to follow suit with what you're talking about. So while in Limbo, in the confines of that interrogation room, the courtroom, as it were, my instinct with the type of character I was to be very violent, as I would be in reality out in the life that I had known, to lash out, to break something, to grab that guy, to let me out of here, to be. And Mark kept saying, no, that's not allowed here. There's restraint. There's a natural abidance of restraint here. You don't get to do that. And I was like, wow. So that caused me to have to then play emotions alternatively that weren't physical, from bewildered to confused to disbelief. You're who? I'm where? What? I'm dead. What? Hey, to okay, maybe to appeal. Okay, can I get a free pass here? To hopeful. So all these things, which were a great challenge, and I think delivers a lot more colors to the work, and also in a talking head space, it kind of gives it a little more interest, to the play, because we don't get to move around until we get out in the real world a little bit, and then we're freed up. So, and yet we still have demons walking around. We've got sort of the supernatural element in Limbo with horned demons walking in and out of a set, and people being brought back from the afterlife to testify. Interesting, So, definitely a challenge, but well worth it. It was the type of thing that you love to do. It was interesting too on the restraint. Just one little side note amongst many, but there's a scene with the hooker with the heart of gold, Angela, and her pimp shows up, Frank, to let me know how it's going to go. And you really think this thing's going to escalate into violence. And yet that same restraint that Mark, he said, look, we could do a fist fight here. We could do a violent thing here. Who's going to win? Who's going to care? It's better wondering about it, but it's also really good to see the restraint, because that's the restraint that Jimmy's going to be confined with down the road. So I really liked that scene about how it played, and it served me really well for the entire movie, to be honest with you. But all the performances were just delicious, just lovely. I think Scotty Thompson, who, she's cool and she's unsure and vulnerable, and yet she's putting on a good, as Cassio, she's putting on a good facade that she knows what she's doing. She doesn't. And she's angelic and dressed in white. And, Balthazar's this, angry kid that is cynical, and he's been around forever. It's just so interesting. It is, as you said, against type. It's against what you're feeling like, how it's going to go.
I think if everyone had played to the type we were expecting, and if the level of makeup had been any more than what it was, you see a couple people with horns, but that's about as far as it goes for makeup application. I think it would have lost that grounded feeling that it needed to be a more believable courtroom drama, which is essentially what it boils down to, but with a supernatural twist. But if you start bringing the fantasy elements in too much, that's when it becomes a little less forgiving, I would guess. It would probably be my experience as an audience member. But the way it was kept so tight and neat really sold it. I think that was exactly Jerry Constantine, our special effects makeup, was totally under that direction from Mark, I want it to land, but I don't want a meal made of it, and so, because there was a huge question about, would Lucifer show up in prosthetics, and there was, and so that decision was made very specifically not to, obviously, and it worked very well, and so it did really great. What was your? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking about the conversation, like James and Mark, and because I think they had to have them ready, and if James was going to have them applied and then it was like no, and special effects is how that goes. It's like wah wah wah, but I think it wouldn't have landed the same with them, So I think it was perfect how it goes. But those were the types of conversations that frankly, Mark brought everybody in to collaborate as that goes. It was really a labor of love, as a group of us. And so we all appreciated having a word. I'm not sure Mark did in the end. I would say he wouldn't have needed so many cooks, but also it helped us to discover things. The rooftop scene was something. We were just going upstairs to look for a plant for her to be able to show that she was growing a plant in the hallway. And we got up and the sun was setting. Mark said, "Jesus, it's beautiful up here. What's wrong? Let's land the scene up here." And it's kind of a really pretty setting. The two of us just sitting up there. So this is a few happy accidents, no doubt.
What was your favorite scene, either that you filmed or you witnessed being done by the other actors?
My favorite scene in the moment is the scene with Chad Lindbergh, Frank, because I think I felt like I was only there to ride. I was riding shotgun in that scene. It was really fun. My favorite scene to observe, for the most part, even though I was part of the scene, really is James Purefoy's, coming in the final scene. I just adored his take on it, and walking in and having, he did it so many different ways. His nails getting messed up, and it was just, there's some comedy that's going on here too, some dark comedy, and that we were trying to land as well. So there was a lot of fun as that goes. I also really enjoyed Veronica Cartwright, working with her. Such a delight. I enjoyed working with everybody, but really a gift to work with her and someone like Richard, and to recognize just their talent. Obviously, they've been big players for a long time, so it was really a joy to be able to do that. And I remember reaching out to touch her face and really taking my time to do it. And her just standing so stoically. And each take, I would take a little more time because she has to react to this, and she would never. It was never something that she had, built into a cadence. She would just stand there so stoically and wait, and then bang, she slaps me. So it was great.
She has so much intensity in her eyes.
Oh, they're so
everything
great,
that you see her in. Her performance is like 90% her eyes.
You should do a piece on females' eyes, okay? Because I'm always captivated. I think we actually were, as humans, I think we're naturally very attracted to eyes, whether it be female or male, but particularly some of these actresses. And so she's definitely one. I'm going to throw Meg Foster in as another one. And Scotty Thompson's eyes are very captivating as well. And so there's a group of them. You might not want to, single anyone out. That probably gets you in trouble. But definitely, she does have. She has a lot of intensity, a lot of fire there, but they can also soften up quite a bit too. Obviously, we've seen that, and that's such a gift, and that's exactly why the camera loves her, finds her, and it's obviously we're the benefactor of that. So, yeah, it was great. She's great.
I'm gonna reach out to her publicist probably within the next week. Cause when I saw that she was part of this as well, I wanted to interview her, but they said that she wasn't available for it, but I'll just go around them and I'll ask directly because I've got a list.
Because I think she would really. I think she would appreciate it. I think she would like to, because she put a lot of work into the project. You know, the pawn shop scene was really difficult. And I'm going to let her talk about that scene. So I'll save that and just say, well, to complete my piece, I need to, there's some very specific questions about the pawn shop scene that I need to do. And she'll speak to that, but she was great in a difficult setting as that goes. And, you know, she's so easy with her work that she doesn't get thrown. And of course, you know, she's been doing it for a minute, so of course she wouldn't. But yeah, she's cool. She's super cool.
Yeah, her and legendary British actor Brian Blessed are on my list to try to get on.
Oh right. Oh yeah.
I've been a fan of Brian since the 80s, so I was just like, I better do it now.
Yeah.
While there's a lull.
Yeah, those are great things, and you know, it's also very interesting for us. We like to hear about their, you know, sometimes we get too caught up in what we have to do. We forget that there's some good stories to remember, and these cats have some amazing stories to remember. You know, I'm just so, you know, fortunate to have been around, you know, some and several, but like spending time with Jeffrey Lewis on Devil's Rejects was incredible. And just based on stories, just on his stories, the things that he would allow. And it was actually interesting because he was allowing them as for lessons' sake. You know, Lou, when you go to work with the lead actor and you have a line to him, make sure you put your hand on his shoulder. That way they can't cut you out of the movie. You know, it's so great. You know, it's beautiful stuff. You know, when you walk in an audition, stand in the door frame so they can size you up, and stand up on your tiptoes so you look taller in the door frame, and that's what they'll remember you as. You know, I mean, just little jewels that were just beautiful and perfect. So, yeah, Brian will have some great stories. Great stories.
I think one of the reasons why I stopped trying to be an actor is, besides failing a bunch of auditions, when I moved back to Florida,
that just makes you an actor. Failing audition. I mean, people don't get hired; they get rejected. You know, it's some of the great actors get rejected less than the rest of us. That's about it. So speaking of rejects, today is the 15-year anniversary of the Devil's Rejects.
Yep, I remember the exact theater I went to go see that at, and loving the Grindhouse style, and having worked with Rob in the past, it was such a great movie to see. The transition he made from House of a Thousand Corpses to what Devil's Rejects became so cult-like so quickly. It was a real treat to see on the big screen.
Yeah, I felt like, you know, the Thousand Corpses was kind of his film school, and then he figured it out. It was interesting because at that stage, there were four guys, several guys, but particularly the four guys, and I'm speaking of Sid Haig, God rest his soul, and Ken Foray, Bill Moseley, William Forsythe, that were so on point, and they're so specific, Mike, with their work in the genre. They're capable of invading your personal space with a certain physical presence that actually leans into your space on film. They lean into your lens space, and you feel it. You actually lean back, and so that resonates with the viewer and the audience. Now, I observed them, watched them very closely doing it to me in scenes with Moseley doing this, and see it, and then watching them. I went to set every day just to watch them work, and I'm so glad I did, because that is why that movie is one of the reasons it works so well. The other reason is that the thing that I spoke about earlier is all the characters have this really great little life, this arc, that lands. Rob was able to do so. Also taking his time a little bit more in that movie. That was 30 days. Now he's kind of restricted to 18, 20 days making a movie. So a lot of things went right. That was a lot magic, lightning in a bottle for Devil's Rejects, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I saw when I was doing my research this morning, I saw that you've got quite a lot on your slate that's in either pre-production or post-production. What's coming out soon that people can look forward to after Limbo?
Well, I've got you'll be happy to hear, I've got a family adventure movie coming out in September, I think. It's called Time Crafters, Treasure of Pirates Cove, and it's an old-fashioned pirate movie, with time travel. It kind of has some Goonies sensibility to it, and two pirate vessels are transported in a time machine from the 1700s to modern day Renaissance seaside during their Pirate Day celebration. So they fit right in, and the treasure is lost in the time travel, and our 5 12-year-olds find it, and they're trying to protect it, or keep away from the pirates. And we've got good pirates and bad pirates, and we've got Malcolm McDowell and Denise Richards and Eric Balfour. So I'm rather happy for that, because it's a family movie, and I have a 12-year-old that can watch it. And because there's other 12-year-olds in it. And of course, 12-year-olds are watching 15-year-old shows, Stranger Things. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for that. The movie, it's The Castle, is a ghost story out there. It's in the edit process. I'd like to think that it's gonna get out this year, but it could be suspect with the pandemic and stuff. But it's an interesting ghost story taking place in Germany on a vacation. 2 American professors who are married take a vacation to a castle in Germany that, of course, had been inhabited by the Third Reich. It's very Nazi-driven. So Nazis are kind of the opposite of pirates. Everybody likes to see good pirates. Nazis, I think you got to handle that thing delicately. And so I hope we do. But yeah, so of course they're just looking to get free from this castle by embodying a soul, of which would be mine. So that's coming out there. Did you get a chance to see The Endless, which is playing out on Netflix now? This movie is very Lovecraftian, very psychologically. It'll spend time with your mind. It's great, and the 2 young kids that directed it are excellent too. Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson. So I'm always pitching that movie. And there's a little cross-pollination besides me, ideal-wise storyline between these two, Limbo and The Endless. It's pretty great. There's a movie out called Homeless Ashes that is out now, and it's a UK movie, and it's about being homeless on the streets over in Europe as much as anything. But homelessness is homelessness, so it's got a good social commentary. I'm pleased with it. It tells a good story. So yeah, I've got quite a bit going out there. There's been 3 movies that have come up during the course of this pandemic that have actually tried to get going, and then they had to, shut down based on safety restrictions. So I haven't done that. There's a television show I'm really excited about that is, again, a Lovecraft property. That we've got some really good movement on it, and I'm hoping we can get that thing going. I kind of love Lovecraft personally, or I've come to, I like his stories. And so, trying to keep busy, that's the truth, and keep reading and writing. I'm writing a script for a guy in South Texas, a coming of age story, fishing tale, a fish story. It's always good. And so it's keeps bouncing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm hoping by the end of the year things kind of go back to normal, because I know how badly it impacts my industry friends.
Yeah.
They're not like me where they have a 9 to 5 that they can do and then just do this on the side. It's just not being able to work and practice your craft has got to be it's got to be very taxing on the mind.
Yeah, it is, because you wonder if you still got it. You wonder if you've lost it. You wonder if you're, if you're relevant. I mean, it's interesting because what the tone is right now is that the independent films will be the first ones out into the deep water because they're leaner and meaner. They have less restrictions, maybe from unions. They'll be able to fly under the radar a little bit more. So the indie films, which are typically the types of things that I do. So immediately my agent was like, you're actually going to be in high demand because time is precious. They're not going to take, chances on, people with less experience probably. You won't be fighting.
Oh, hang on, Lou,
please.
Lou, I think Richard's calling in.
Oh shoot! You have to talk to Richard, and if he let me go, you've got what you need from me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The call dropped. Never mind.
Shit. Okay. Hopefully he calls back. Okay. Or
Yeah.
I should let you go. Do you want to I don't want you to miss Richard.
No, it's all. If he calls back, I'll merge him in. It's unknown, so.
Yeah.
Since this is my studio line, I never know who it's going to be.
So getting back
to
but now come to find out, there's so many of us that are gnashing at the bit to get out and work. The indies are actually having some swings at some A-list attachments that they would never get a sniff at. But there's some players that are, willing to go out and work on a $500,000 movie that and it changes the dynamic of the movie entirely. These people are going to make these movies and be able to go sell them with, not Leonardo DiCaprio, but with Vin Diesel, that they never would have been able to do, So it's just a strange landscape, and but I'm really thankful to be part of it, and I'm really thankful that you're out continuing to do what you do for the industry and the genre, and you've done it for a long time. Thanks for being so supportive and active. It's important.
Yeah, I love covering indie stuff more than anything else. Doing stuff for like Netflix bringing me out somewhere or NBC bringing me out somewhere, that's great. But it's the independent stuff that usually tries to take charge and do things that other studios don't want to do, or other filmmakers are shackled from doing. And you get that in indie cinema. You don't get that in major Hollywood pictures. Taking
a chance on stuff for sure. Well, being in Florida, you're close to Georgia. Georgia's so busy and active. I don't know how it's going to play out for Georgia. I auditioned for Stranger Things right away again, right? Like I'm going to say the end of March. I mean, the pandemic was on us, and I don't know what they were probably just trying to play through in protocol, but at some point they'll get back to work and it'll be great.
Yep. All right, Lew. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mike. It's my pleasure. Thank you. If you need anything, let me know, and tell everyone I said hello. Richard, tell him he looks good in horns.
All right, man. Thank you very much. You have yourself a good day, and I hope I get to interview you again soon.
I would look forward to it. Anything you need, you let me know. This is my number, and go ahead and keep it. Let me know if you need anything.
I appreciate it.
Okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you, Lew, very much.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.
You've been listening to the Sixth Sense Media Podcast. You can find more of our celebrity interviews and roundtable discussions on iTunes, Podbean, and SoundCloud. Be sure to check out our movie, TV, and video game coverage at sixthsense.com and fanbolt.com.